Ladies and gentlemen, imagine you are holding onto a rope, gripping it tightly as it burns your hands. You scream in pain, yet you refuse to let go. The tighter you hold, the deeper the wound. Now ask yourself, what if the pain isn't from what happened, but from your refusal to release it? We live in a world where we are told to care more, to fight for what we want, to never let go. But what if the secret to peace isn't in holding on, but in learning to loosen our grip? Today I will take you on a journey, not one of cold indifference, but of deep understanding. I will show you that emotional detachment is not about shutting yourself off from life, but about engaging with it fully, without the chains of suffering. By the end of this, you will see that freedom was never about escaping emotion. It was about knowing how to experience it without being imprisoned by it. We suffer not because emotions exist, but because we identify with them. We say, I am sad, instead of, I feel sadness. The river of emotion flows, but you are not the river. You are the observer standing on the bank. When you grasp at water, it slips through your fingers. But when you let it flow, it nourishes the land. Detachment is not avoidance. It is not indifference. It is the ability to experience everything fully without being owned by it. It is looking at pain and saying, I see you, but you do not define me. When we love, we cling. We fear loss. We mistake possession for devotion. But love, when truly understood, is like the wind. You feel it, but you cannot hold it. The tighter you try, the more it vanishes. And so, the secret is this. Love deeply, experience fully, but do not seek to own what was never yours to begin with. So now, I ask you again, what happens if you let go of that rope? What if, instead of fearing loss, you embraced the impermanence of everything? What if, instead of clinging, you danced with the ebb and flow of life? You were never meant to be a prisoner of your emotions. You were meant to watch them, feel them, and let them pass like the clouds in the sky. The sun is always there, even when the clouds come and go. Let go and be free. The illusion of control is perhaps the greatest source of human suffering. We move through life under the belief that if we plan enough, work hard enough, or worry deeply enough, we can bend reality to our will. But reality does not obey our desires. It moves like the wind, unpredictable, untamed, indifferent to our preferences, and yet we resist. We grip tightly to people, outcomes, and emotions, convinced that if we just try harder, we can shape them to our liking. But what happens when life refuses to comply? Frustration arises, fear takes hold, and suffering deepens. We mistake effort for power, yet true power does not come from force. It comes from understanding the nature of things. The mind tells us, if I just control my relationships, they will never leave me. If I control my emotions, I will never feel pain. If I control the future, I will always be safe. But this is like trying to grasp water with clenched fists. It only slips through the cracks. Control is an illusion because the nature of existence is fluid, ever-changing. No moment stays as it is. No person remains unchanged. No feeling is permanent. To attempt control is to fight against the very essence of life itself. And so we find ourselves trapped, not by the external world, but by our refusal to accept its unpredictability. To see through this illusion, one must observe rather than interfere. Watch the rise and fall of emotions, the coming and going of circumstances, the impermanence of all things. The tighter the grip, the more painful the release. But to understand this deeply is to move through life like a river, flowing, adapting, never resisting. Attachment is not love, yet we often confuse the two. We believe that to love someone deeply means to cling to them, to make them a permanent part of our world, to ensure they never leave or change. But love, in its purest form, is not about possession. It is not about keeping someone close at all costs, nor is it about the fear of losing them. True love is like the sun. It gives warmth without demanding anything in return. It shines because that is its nature, not because it seeks to be acknowledged or owned. When we attach ourselves to someone, we create an expectation that they will stay, they will always be who they are now, that they will fulfill our emotional needs. And when reality does not align with these expectations, we suffer. The pain of attachment does not come from love itself, but from our unwillingness to accept the impermanence of all things. We do not fear losing a person, we fear losing the version of them that we have grown attached to. But people change, circumstances shift, and the tighter we hold on, the more we turn love into a prison rather than a gift. Love should be experienced, not controlled. When we detach, we do not stop loving. We simply allow love to exist without conditions. We accept that people will come and go, that moments will pass, that nothing stays the same. And in this acceptance, love becomes limitless. It no longer depends on possession or security. It no longer seeks to own, to bind, to demand. Instead, it flows freely, without fear, without expectation, just as it was always meant to. The dance of impermanence is the rhythm of existence, yet we spend our lives resisting it. We want things to stay the same, people to remain as they are, and moments to last forever. But nothing in this universe is static. Everything is in motion, constantly shifting, evolving, dissolving. The tree that stands tall today will one day return to the earth. The river that flows will never hold the same water twice. The face we see in the mirror changes with time, no matter how much we wish it wouldn't. And yet, despite knowing this, we cling. We hold on to relationships as if they will never end, to happiness as if it will never fade, to identities as if they will never evolve. But the more we resist change, the more we suffer. Suffering is not in the change itself, but in our refusal to embrace it. We grieve not only for what is lost, but for our unwillingness to accept that it was never ours to keep. We fear uncertainty because we believe stability is real, when in truth, stability is an illusion. Even the mountains, which seem so permanent, are slowly being shaped by the wind. Even the stars, which shine so brightly, will one day burn out. The idea that anything can remain unchanged is the very thing that traps us in fear and longing. To truly live, one must dance with impermanence, not fight against it. The beauty of a flower is not diminished because it will one day wither. It is made even more precious. Likewise, the fleeting nature of everything is not a cause for despair, but a reason to fully embrace each moment. To accept impermanence is not to lose, it is to finally be free. The ego is a master of deception, whispering in our minds that we are our emotions, our thoughts, our desires. It tells us that if we feel sadness, we are sad. If we feel anger, we are angry. If we feel fear, we are weak. And so, without question, we believe it. We let emotions define us, control us, dictate our actions. But what if this is all a trick? What if the thoughts and feelings that arise within us are not who we are, but simply passing clouds in the vast sky of our consciousness? The ego thrives on identification. It clings to pain, to love, to success, to failure, weaving them into a story of self. This is who I am, it says, attaching itself to every fleeting experience as if it were permanent. But emotions are not fixed. They come and go like waves in the ocean, rising, peaking, then dissolving into nothingness. The problem arises when we hold on to them, treating them as something solid and unchanging. We are not sad people. We are people experiencing sadness. We are not failures. We are people who have encountered failure. The moment we see this distinction, the illusion begins to crack. Detachment does not mean suppressing emotions or pretending they do not exist. It means stepping back and watching them without getting caught in their storm. It means recognizing that thoughts may enter the mind, but we do not have to engage with them. It means understanding that emotions are merely visitors, not permanent residents. And when we stop identifying with the passing tides of emotion, something remarkable happens. Peace emerges, not because emotions have disappeared, but because we have finally realized we were never the waves, we were always the ocean. The art of letting go is not about pushing things away or pretending they don't matter. It is about holding them with open hands, knowing that nothing was ever truly ours to begin with. We live in a world where possession is mistaken for security, where we try to hold on to people, feelings, and moments as if they will last forever. But nothing lasts, and the attempt to make it so only deepens our suffering, and alone depends to make it so profitable. Letting go is not about losing. It is about freeing ourselves from the illusion that we can control what was never meant to be controlled. We struggle with letting go because we fear emptiness. We believe that without attachment, life will lose its meaning, that we will become numb, indifferent, or disconnected. But detachment is not about withdrawal. It is about presence. It is about being fully engaged in life without the need to own it. A river does not cling to the water that flows through it, yet it remains a river. A tree does not grip its leaves when autumn comes, yet it continues to grow. Nature teaches us this truth constantly. To hold on too tightly is to suffer, but to let go is to allow life to move as it was always meant to. When we master the art of letting go, we do not love less, we love more freely. We do not feel less, we feel more deeply. We do not lose ourselves, we rediscover who we truly are beneath all the attachments. Letting go is not an act of rejection, it is an act of trust. Trusting that life, in all its unpredictability, knows exactly where to take us, if only we stop resisting and allow it to flow. Freedom through surrender is the paradox that the mind resists the most. We are taught to fight, to struggle, to push against life in an effort to shape it according to our desires. We believe that control is power, that resistance is strength, that surrender is weakness. But this belief is the very thing that keeps us trapped. The more we grasp at life, the more it slips through our fingers. The more we resist pain, the more deeply it embeds itself within us. The more we try to force happiness, the more it eludes us. It is only when we surrender, when we stop grasping, stop resisting, stop demanding, that we finally find the peace we have been searching for. Surrender does not mean giving up. It does not mean indifference. It means trusting the flow of life instead of constantly trying to fight against it. A river does not struggle to reach the ocean. It simply moves, effortlessly carried by the current. It does not question the path, nor does it try to control where it will go. It surrenders, and in that surrender it reaches exactly where it is meant to be. In the same way, when we let go of our need to control every outcome, we discover something remarkable. Life has always known where to take us. Freedom does not come from mastery over life, but from the realization that there was never anything to master. The mind wants control, but the soul craves surrender. To let go is to step into the great unknown, not with fear, but with the quiet knowing that whatever comes, we are already whole. There is nothing to force, nothing to hold on to, nothing to fear. There is only the flow, and in that flow we are finally free. There is no fear in the fallen, and there is only the chosen be fearful, right? So now we return to the question, what happens when we finally let go? What remains when we stop clinging to emotions, people, and outcomes? When we stop believing the mind's illusion that we must control life to be happy? The answer is simple: freedom. Not the cold, distant freedom of indifference, but the deep, peaceful freedom of understanding. The freedom to love without fear, to feel without attachment, to experience life fully without being trapped by it. We spend so much of our lives resisting impermanence, yet everything we cherish exists because of it. A song is beautiful because it ends. A sunset is breathtaking because it fades. Love is precious because it cannot be possessed. When we stop grasping, we do not lose. We gain the ability to appreciate life as it is, not as we wish it to be. We learn that emotions are visitors, not masters, that people are companions, not possessions, that experiences are moments to be lived, not objects to be hoarded. The path of emotional detachment is not a path of withdrawal, but of deep engagement. It is the understanding that life was never something to be controlled, it was always something to be danced with. And when we finally step into that dance, without fear, without resistance, without the illusion of control, we realize the truth. We were never meant to hold on. We were meant to flow.